The large silver ship landed softly on the green field. It looked like a teardrop made of metal. Guards in blue uniforms formed two lines. They were waiting for someone important. Princess Lyra stepped out of the ship. She had light purple skin and silver hair that reached her waist. 3 small marks shaped like circles connected on her forehead showed she was royal. Her long white dress moved in the wind as she looked around at the blue sky and green trees of Earth. "It looks just like in the pictures," she said to her guard Vela. "But it feels different." Vela nodded. She knew the princess was not just here for the official reason, a peace meeting between their people, the Astrians, and the humans of Earth. Lyra had another goal. 20 years ago, her best friend Samantha had come to Earth on a study trip. She never came back. Everyone said Samantha was dead, but Lyra never stopped hoping. "Remember why we're here, Princess?" Vela whispered. "Your father, the Emperor, wants reports on Earth's weapons and armies. He plans to take this planet in 1 year." Lyra frowned. "I know my duty, but I don't agree with Father's plan. Earth has done nothing wrong to us." 5 black cars drove up to the field. Men and women in green military clothes stepped out. One woman walked ahead of the others. She was tall with short brown hair and serious eyes. "Welcome to Earth, Princess." "Lyra," the woman said with a small bow. "I am Lieutenant Madeline Walsh. Everyone calls me Maddie. I will be your guide during your stay." Lyra felt strange when she looked at Maddie. Something about the way the soldier stood or moved seemed familiar, but that was impossible. Lyra had never met a human before today. "Thank you, Lieutenant Walsh," Lyra said. "My people are happy to learn more about Earth." Maddie smiled. "Please follow me. We have a welcome party ready at the base." As they walked to the cars, Lyra watched Maddie. The human walked with confidence, but sometimes touched her right wrist, where a strange mark could be seen. It looked like 3 circles connected together, just like the royal mark on Lyra's forehead. At the military base, generals and leaders made speeches about peace and friendship. Lyra said all the right things, but she kept looking at Maddie, who stood straight and serious by the door. When Maddie thought no one was looking, she tilted her head in a certain way when listening to a speaker. Lyra almost dropped her glass. Samantha used to tilt her head exactly the same way when they were children. "Are you well, Princess?" Vela asked. "Yes," Lyra said quickly. "Just tired from the long trip." That night, in the room humans had prepared for her, Lyra looked at old pictures on her small computer. There she was at 7 years old, playing with Samantha in the crystal gardens of her home world. Both little girls were laughing. Samantha had been the daughter of a scientist, not royal like Lyra, but they had become best friends anyway. "Where are you, Sam?" Lyra whispered to the picture. "Did you really die here on this strange planet?" Miles away, in her small apartment, Maddie Walsh woke up from a strange dream. She had been running through a garden made of crystals. The sky was purple, not blue. A small girl with silver hair was calling a name, but Maddie couldn't remember what it was. Maddie sat up, breathing hard. She had these dreams often, but never told anyone. The army doctors might think she was crazy or unfit for duty. They already thought she was strange because of how quickly she learned about space technology and fighting styles. Just a dream, she told herself. Just a weird dream. But then she noticed something odd. The mark on her wrist, the one doctor said was probably a burn from when she was found as a lost child, was glowing faintly blue in the dark room. Maddie touched it, confused. The mark had never glowed before. It happened right after she met the alien princess. Was there a connection? Maddie had been found wandering alone when she was about 7 years old. She had no memory of her life before that day. The Walsh family adopted her, gave her love and a home, but she always felt different. She was smarter than other kids her age, learned faster, and somehow knew things she shouldn't know. When the first Astrian ships came to Earth 5 years ago, Maddie had surprised her commanders by understanding some of the alien technology without training. It helped her rise quickly in the military ranks. Some people were jealous, but most were just happy to have her skills. Now, looking at her glowing wrist in the dark, Maddie felt scared and excited at the same time. "What's happening? To me?" she whispered. The next morning, Maddie picked up Princess Lyra for the first official tour. The princess seemed to watch her closely, which made Maddie nervous. "Have you worked with Astrians before, Lieutenant?" Lyra asked as they walked through the Earth Science Center. "No, Princess," Maddie said. "You're the first I've met in person." "Interesting," Lyra said. "You seem very comfortable with us." Maddie didn't know what to say. She had always felt drawn to news about the Astrians since they first made contact with Earth. When she heard an Astrian princess was coming and needed a guide, Maddie had asked for the job right away. As they looked at displays about Earth's history, Lyra suddenly asked, "That mark on your wrist, what is it?" Maddie touched her wrist without thinking. "Just an old scar. I've had it since I was a child." "May I see it?" Lyra asked. Something in the princess's voice made it impossible for Maddie to say no. She held out her arm. Lyra's cool fingers touched her skin, and for a second, Maddie saw a flash of purple sky and crystal towers. Lyra dropped Maddie's hand quickly. Her eyes were wide. "Impossible," she whispered. Before Maddie could ask what was wrong, alarms started ringing throughout the building. Red lights flashed. "We need to go back to the base now," Maddie said, switching to soldier mode. "Something's wrong." As they rushed to the car, Maddie saw fear in Lyra's eyes. But it wasn't fear of the alarms. The princess was looking at Maddie as if she had seen a ghost. The car raced back to the military base. Maddie drove fast while speaking into her radio. Princess Lyra sat quietly in the back seat, still staring at Maddie with wide eyes. "What's happening?" Lyra finally asked. "Our space watchers found Astrian ships near Neptune," Maddie said. "Big ships. Warships. They weren't supposed to be there." Lyra looked down at her hands. She knew those ships. They belonged to her father's army, the first wave of his secret plan to take Earth. They weren't supposed to come so soon. Now the humans would know something was wrong. At the base, soldiers ran everywhere. In the main meeting room, General Kimberly Foster waited with an angry face. She was a short woman with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Princess," General Foster said coldly, "would you like to explain why a fleet of your warships is hiding behind Neptune? Or why we found small robot spies taking pictures of our defense systems?" Maddie stood straighter. "General, I'm sure there's an explanation. Stay out of this." "Lieutenant Walsh," the general snapped. "This is above your level." But Lyra stepped forward. "No, let her stay. Lieutenant Walsh has been kind to me." She took a deep breath. "General Foster, I must tell you the truth. My father, Emperor Vex, plans to invade Earth." The room went silent. Then everyone started talking at once. Some officers wanted to arrest Lyra right away. Others wanted to call the president. General Foster held up her hand for quiet. "Why are you telling us this?" she asked Lyra. "You're betraying your own father." "Because I don't agree with him," Lyra said. "Earth has water, metals, and other things our world needs, but taking them by force is wrong. I came here hoping to find a peaceful way for our worlds to share." Maddie felt strangely proud of Lyra's bravery, and even stranger, she felt like she had seen Lyra stand up to her father before, long ago. "Lock all the Astrians in the visitor building," General Foster ordered. "Put guards at every door." "Let me guard the princess," Maddie said quickly, not sure why she felt so protective. "I've spent the most time with her, she trusts me." The general thought for a moment, then nodded. "Fine. But remember your duty is to Earth, Lieutenant." In the visitor building, Lyra's guards and helpers were angry about being locked up. Only Lyra seemed calm as she sat in her room with Maddie standing by the door. "You don't have to stay. In here with me," Lyra said. "I won't try to escape." "I know," Maddie said. She felt comfortable with Lyra in a way that made no sense. "Can I ask you something? What did you mean at the science center when you saw my wrist mark? You said, 'Impossible.'" Lyra was quiet for a long time. "It reminded me of someone I lost a long time ago." "Your friend who disappeared on Earth? The one you're still looking for?" Maddie asked. Lyra looked surprised. How did you know about that? I never told you. Maddie touched her head, confused. I don't know, I just knew. She sat down across from Lyra. Sometimes I know things I shouldn't know. Like when the first Astrian ships came 5 years ago, I could understand parts of your technology without being taught. It's like I've seen it before. Tell me about your childhood, Lyra said softly. There's not much to tell. I was found wandering alone when I was 7. No memory of my life before that. The doctors thought I had an accident that hurt my brain. Maddie showed her wrist mark again. They said this was probably from the same accident the Walsh family adopted me. And the dreams, Lyra asked. Do you have strange dreams? Maddie jumped up. How do you know about my dreams? Before Lyra could answer, a loud explosion shook the building. The lights went out. In the darkness, Maddie pulled out her gun. Stay behind me, she told Lyra. More explosions came from outside. Through the window, they saw fires in the night. Men in black clothes, not military uniforms, were attacking the base. Those aren't soldiers, Maddie said. They must be the Earth First group. They hate all aliens. They'll kill me if they find me, Lyra whispered. I won't let that happen, Maddie promised. She felt something warm on her wrist. Looking down, she saw her mark was glowing bright blue. Lyra gasped. The mark on her forehead was glowing too, with the same blue light. We need to get out of here, Maddie said, trying to ignore the glowing marks. I know a back way. They ran, through dark hallways. When 3 attackers appeared with guns, Maddie fought them using moves she had never been taught. Her body seemed to know what to do on its own. She hit pressure points that made the men fall down without killing them. How did you do that? Lyra asked as they ran on. Those were Astrian fighting moves. No human knows them. I don't know, Maddie said, feeling scared of herself. Let's just keep moving. They reached a small door that led outside. As they ran, across the dark field toward the forest, more explosions lit up the sky. Suddenly, 5 men jumped out from behind trees. They pointed guns at Lyra. Die, alien, one shouted. Without thinking, Maddie jumped in front of Lyra. At the same moment, Lyra pushed Maddie aside to protect her. Their hands touched. A blast of blue light exploded from where their skin met. Both women fell to the ground screaming. The attackers ran away in fear. In Maddie's mind, pictures flashed like a movie, playing in a crystal garden, laughing with a silver-haired girl, training with light swords, making a promise to always protect the princess. When the light faded, Maddie looked at her hands like she had never seen them before. Memories flooded her mind, not just a few, but hundreds. A whole childhood on another world. Samantha. Lyra whispered, tears in her eyes. It really is you. Maddie, or Samantha, looked up with confused eyes. Lyra. How is this possible? More explosions from the base reminded them they were in danger. We need to get somewhere safe, Lyra said, helping Maddie up. Then we can figure this out. The old science station, Maddie said, her mind still spinning with old and new memories fighting for space. It's 3 miles through the forest. No one uses it anymore. As they ran through the dark trees, Maddie felt like she was 2 people at once, Lieutenant Madeline Walsh of Earth and someone called Samantha from a world with purple skies and crystal cities. I remember you, she told Lyra as they ran, but I also remember growing up on Earth. How can both be true? I don't know, Lyra said, but your mark is a Royal Guard symbol. Only my personal guards have it. You were given that mark when we were both 7 years old after you saved me from falling off the crystal tower. More memories came to Maddie with Lyra's words. She remembered the tower, remembered catching Lyra's hand as she slipped, remembered the ceremony where the mark was placed on her wrist. But I'm human, Maddie said weakly. No, Lyra said gently. You're Astrian, Samantha, just like me. The old science station was a small building hidden among tall trees. Dust covered everything inside. Maddie found the power switch and dim lights came on. She locked the door and pulled blinds over the windows. We should be safe here for now, she said, sitting down heavily on an old chair. Her head hurt from all the new memories pushing into her mind. Lyra looked around the dusty room. What is this place? It was used to study forest animals, Maddie explained. But they closed it 5 years ago when money ran out. She touched her glowing wrist mark. Tell me everything. How can I be this Samantha person? I grew up on Earth. I have parents, the Walshes. Lyra sat across from her. You were my best friend since we were babies. Your mother was my teacher and your father was a scientist. When we were 10, you were chosen to train as my royal guard because you were so good at fighting. I remember, Maddie whispered. The training rooms with blue lights, the practice, swords made of light. She shook her head. But it can't be real. When we were both 12, Lyra continued, your parents were picked for a study trip to Earth. You were so excited to go. It was only supposed to last 1 month. Lyra's voice broke, but you never came back. The ship reported trouble. They said your family's small pod crashed. Everyone was thought to be dead. Maddie closed her eyes, trying to remember. There was a storm in space. My father was worried. Then, nothing. My memories as Samantha stop there. And your memories as Maddie begin when you were found at age 7, Lyra asked. But that doesn't make sense. You would have been 12 when the crash happened. Maddie jumped up. The crash was 20 years ago, right? But I'm only 27 now. There are 5 missing years. Lyra's eyes widened. You must have been in stasis. It's the only explanation. When Astrians are badly hurt, we can be put in sleep pods that slow down time for the body. You wouldn't age much in the pod. But why would I think I'm human? Why would I forget everything? Maddie paced the small room. The pod must have changed your memories to help you fit in on Earth, Lyra said. Maybe your parents did it to protect you. If the pod was damaged in the crash, it might have left you with no memories at all. Maddie stopped pacing. That's what the doctors thought, that I had brain damage from an accident. But my fighting skills, my quick learning, those things stayed. Because they were too deep to erase, Lyra said. Just like your connection to me. Maddie looked at Lyra with new eyes. Images of their childhood together were becoming clearer in her mind. We were like sisters, she whispered. Yes. Lyra smiled sadly. I never stopped looking for you. Every Astrian ship that came to Earth had orders to search for signs of your family's pod. I never believed you were really dead. A beeping sound came from Lyra's pocket. She pulled out a small silver device. It's from my ship, she said, reading the screen. The Earth First attackers have been pushed back, but now Earth's military thinks all Astrians are enemies. They're preparing for war. And your father's fleet is still coming, Maddie added. We need to stop both sides from fighting. Lyra looked at her with hope. Will you help me? Even though it means going against Earth? Maddie touched her wrist mark, which still glowed faintly. I don't know who I am anymore. Maddie or Samantha, human or Astraean. All I know is I don't want either world destroyed. I might be able to help with your memories, Lyra said. My personal ship has a memory scanner. If we can reach it, we might see what really happened to you. Your ship is back at the base, surrounded by angry soldiers, Maddie pointed out. Not my big diplomatic ship, Lyra said with a small smile. My personal scout ship. It's hidden in the hills 10 miles from here. I always have a backup plan. Maddie laughed. That sounds like the Lyra I'm starting to remember. They waited until morning before leaving the science station. Staying off main roads, they hiked through forests and fields. Maddie's military training helped them avoid being seen. By afternoon, they reached the hills where Lyra's small ship was hidden under trees and special covers that made it invisible to Earth's scanning machines. It's beautiful, Maddie said when Lyra removed the covers. The ship was shaped like a leaf, small and silver with blue lights around its edges. Inside, it was just big enough for 4 people. Lyra went to the control panel and pressed her hand against it. The ship came to life, lights blinking. Sit here, Lyra told Maddie, pointing to a chair with a strange headset hanging above it. This is a memory scanner. It can show us what's in your mind, even memories you can't access yourself. Maddie sat down nervously. Will it hurt? No, Lyra promised. It feels like dreaming. The headset came down over Maddie's eyes. The world went dark, then filled with stars. She felt like she was floating in space. Just relax. Lyra's voice came from somewhere far away. Let the memories come. Images began to appear. Maddie saw herself as young Samantha, boarding a small pod with her parents. They were going to Earth to study humans secretly, the pod attached to a larger ship for the journey. Then came the space storm, clouds of energy that the large ship couldn't avoid. The small pods were separated from the main ship for safety. Samantha's pod was hit by energy and damaged. Her parents put her in the stasis pod as the ship fell toward Earth. The next images were confusing. Men in white coats, a room with bright lights, someone saying, "The alien child survived, the adults are dead." Another voice, "We can't let people know we found aliens. There would be panic." A woman scientist stepped forward. "Look at her readings. She's almost exactly like a human child. If we adjust her appearance slightly and block her memories, she could live among us. We could learn so much." A man objected. "That's wrong. She should be returned to her people." The woman replied, "Her people might never come back. And we need to understand these aliens before they return. It's for Earth's protection." Maddie saw herself as a small child, sleeping while machines changed her skin color from light purple to human pink. Her silver hair darkened to brown, a final image. The same woman scientist saying, "Her memory block is complete. She'll think she's human. We'll place her where she can be found, with her species mark hidden as a scar. If her people ever return, for her they'll recognize it." The headset lifted. Maddie opened her eyes, tears streaming down her face. "They found me," she whispered. "Earth scientists found me and changed me. They stole my life." Lyra knelt beside her, also crying. "I'm so sorry, Samantha, all these years. They made me into Maddie Walsh," she said, anger growing inside her. "They used me to learn about Istrians. That's why I rose in the military so fast. They were watching me." "Not everyone knew," Lyra said gently. "The Walsh family loved you. They still do." Maddie covered her face with her hands. "Who am I now? I'm not fully Samantha anymore. I've lived as Maddie longer than I ever lived as Samantha." "You're both," Lyra said, taking her hands. "And right now, both worlds need you." Maddie looked up, wiping her tears. "What do you mean?" "You understand both sides," Lyra explained. "You love Earth and Astria. You alone can help us find peace." "How?" Maddie asked. "Your father wants to invade. Earth is preparing for war. They won't listen to us." Lyra smiled. "They will when they learn what I just discovered in the ship's database while scanning your memories." She pointed to the screen showing strange symbols. "The reason Astrians and humans look so similar is because we are related. Astrians came from Earth thousands of years ago." Maddie stared at the screen. "What? How is that possible?" "My ancestors left Earth during an ice age," Lyra explained. "They had technology beyond other humans of that time. They found our planet and changed themselves slightly to survive there. So this war would be between distant cousins," Maddie said, understanding growing. "We need to tell both sides." "Yes," Lyra agreed. "But first, we need a plan to make them. Listen." As they talked, a red light began flashing on the ship's control panel. Lyra checked it and her face went pale. "My father's war fleet has entered the solar system," she said. "We have 3 days before they reach Earth." Maddie and Lyra spent hours making their plan. They needed to stop two angry sides from starting a war. It would not be easy. "My father won't listen to just words," Lyra said as she checked the ship's systems. "He's wanted Earth's resources for years. He needs to see proof that humans and Astrians are related. And Earth's leaders won't believe it either," Maddie added. "They're too afraid of your ships." She looked at her hands, still surprised to know they weren't really human hands. But I have access to both sides, that's our advantage. By nightfall, they were ready. Lyra's small ship rose silently into the dark sky. It had special shields that made it hard for Earth's radars to see. They flew to the military base where everything had started 2 days before. Are you sure about this? Lyra asked as they hovered, above the base. Once we land, you could be arrested as a traitor. Maddie nodded. I know these people. They'll listen to me, even if just for a minute. And a minute is all I need. The ship landed in the middle of the base's main yard. Alarms sounded immediately. Soldiers ran toward them with guns ready. Maddie stepped out first, hands raised. Don't shoot. I need to speak with General Foster. It's Lieutenant Walsh. The soldiers stopped, confused to see one of their own coming from an alien ship. Maddie used that moment to keep talking. The Astrian war fleet will be here in 3 days, she shouted. But we can stop the war before it starts. Let me speak to the general. One soldier spoke into his radio. After a tense minute, General Foster's voice came from speakers around the yard. Lieutenant Walsh, you are ordered to step away from the alien ship and surrender yourself. With respect, General, you need to hear what we've discovered. Maddie called back. It changes everything about the coming war. There was a long pause. Finally, the general said, You have 5 minutes. In my office. The alien stays in the ship under guard. I need Princess Lyra with me, Maddie insisted. The proof is in her royal records. Another long pause. Fine. But any tricks, and you'll both be shot. Inside the main building, soldiers lined the halls watching Maddie and Lyra with suspicious eyes. In the general's office, more guards stood at attention. General Foster sat behind her desk, her face hard as stone. You better have a good explanation, Lieutenant, she said coldly. You disappeared with an enemy alien during an attack. That looks like treason. I know how it looks, Maddie said. But I've learned something that changes everything. She took a deep breath. I'm not human, General. I'm Astrian. The room went very quiet. General Foster's eyes narrowed. What nonsense is this? 20 years ago, an Astrian study pod crashed on Earth. Maddie explained quickly. I was the only survivor, a child. Earth scientists found me, changed my appearance, and blocked my memory so I would think I was human. That's impossible, the general said, but doubt showed in her eyes. Maddie rolled up her sleeve to show her wrist mark, still glowing faintly blue. This is a royal guard mark from Astria. Princess Lyra recognized it because I was her personal guard when we were children. When we touched during the attack, it triggered my real memories. General Foster looked at Lyra. Is this true? Yes, Lyra said. Samantha, the one you know as Maddie, was my best friend. She disappeared on a mission to Earth. I've been searching for her for 20 years. The general stood up and walked around her desk. She looked closely at Maddie's wrist mark. So you're saying you're a spy? That you've been gathering information for them all along? No, Maddie said firmly. I had no idea who I really was until 2 days ago. I am loyal to Earth. The Walsh family raised me. This is my home. She stepped closer to the general. But Astria is also my home, and that's why I can help stop this war. How? General Foster asked, still suspicious but listening. Lyra stepped forward and placed a small silver disc on the desk. It projected a 3D image in the air, ancient symbols and diagrams. These are from our oldest records, Lyra explained. They show that Astrians originally came from Earth thousands of years ago. A small group of advanced humans left during an ice age and found our planet. Over time, they changed to adapt to our world. You're saying Astrians are actually human? The general asked in disbelief. Distant cousins, Maddie said. We share ancestors. This war would be between related peoples. The general stared at the projection. Even if this is true, why would your emperor care? He still wants our resources. Because Astrian law forbids war against ancestor worlds, Lyra said. It's our oldest and most sacred law. If my father sees proof of our shared heritage, he must call off the invasion. And what proof do you have? General Foster asked. Maddie stepped forward. Me. I'm the proof. My body shows both Astrian and human characteristics, and I have memories of both worlds. The general was quiet for a long time, thinking. Finally, she said, I'll need to speak with the president and the Joint Chiefs. This is beyond my authority. We don't have much time, Maddie reminded her. The fleet will be here in 3 days. Wait here, the general ordered. She left the room, leaving Maddie and Lyra with the guards. Do you think she believes us? Lyra whispered. I don't know, Maddie answered, but at least she's considering it. An hour passed before the general returned. Her face was impossible to read. The president has agreed to a meeting, she said. You'll present your evidence to her and the world leaders in 1 hour. At the same time, we need to contact the emperor. Thank you, General, Maddie said with relief. Don't thank me yet, Lieutenant, or whatever you are, General Foster said sharply. If this is a trick, you'll be tried for treason. In the base's communication center, screens showed leaders from around the world joining the emergency meeting. Maddie and Lyra waited nervously. We need to convince them quickly, Lyra said. Then we need to use Earth's biggest communication dish to send a message to my father's fleet. Maddie nodded. If we can get both sides talking instead of shooting, we have a chance. The door opened, and General Foster entered with several important-looking people. One woman in a blue suit stepped forward. I'm President Sharon Bell, she said. General Foster has told me your incredible story. Now I need to hear it directly from you. Maddie saluted out of habit. Madam President, what I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but it's the truth. For the next 30 minutes, Maddie and Lyra explained everything. Maddie's true identity, the connection between humans and Astrians, and the law that could stop the invasion. Lyra showed the ancient records, and Maddie demonstrated her knowledge of Astrian language and technology. I've lived as a human for 20 years, Maddie concluded. I love Earth, but I also remember my first home. I can help both worlds understand each other. President Bell studied Maddie's face. Your service record is exceptional, Lieutenant Walsh. General Foster speaks highly of your loyalty. She turned to her advisors. What do you think? A man in a military uniform spoke up. It's a fantastic story, but the timing is convenient just as their war fleet approaches. It's not a trick, Lyra insisted. My father doesn't even know I've found Samantha. He thinks I'm still on my diplomatic mission. President Bell raised her hand for quiet. We need to make a decision. The Astrian fleet will be here in 3 days. Our options are to prepare for war or to try this unusual peace approach. She looked at Maddie. I'm inclined to give you a chance, Lieutenant. Not because I fully believe your story, but because any chance for peace is worth taking. Relief washed over Maddie. Thank you, Madam President. Set up the communication with the Emperor, President Bell ordered. Let's see if he's as open to talking as his daughter. Technicians began working on the huge satellite dish outside the base. It was Earth's strongest communication system, able to reach far into space. Maddie felt her heart racing. Soon she would face the Emperor of Astria, Lyra's father and the ruler of the world where she was born. Would he recognize her? Would he listen? Are you ready? Lyra asked, touching Maddie's arm gently. No, Maddie admitted. But we have to try. The technicians gave a signal. The communication link was ready. Maddie took a deep breath as the largest screen in the room flickered to life, preparing to show the face of Emperor Vex. The fate of 2 worlds now depended on what happened next. The screen flickered, then showed the face of Emperor Vex. He had the same light purple skin as Lyra, but his hair was dark blue, cut short in a military style. The 3-circle royal mark on his forehead glowed brightly. Lyra, he said, his voice deep and cold. Why are you contacting me from an Earth communication system? Where is your ship? Father, Lyra stepped forward. I have discovered something important, something that changes everything about your plans for Earth. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. You were sent on a diplomatic mission, not to interfere with military matters. I know, Lyra said. But I've found Samantha. The Emperor's cold expression broke for a moment. Surprise and disbelief showed on his face. Impossible. She died in the crash 20 years ago. No, Father. She survived. Earth scientists found her. They changed her appearance and blocked her memories. Lyra pulled Maddie forward. This is her. Maddie stood tall, facing the Emperor. Strange memories flooded her mind. Bowing before this man as a child, receiving her guard mark in his royal hall, promising to protect his daughter. Samantha? The Emperor leaned closer to his screen. How can this be? It's true, Your Majesty, Maddie said, speaking in the Australian language without thinking. The words felt strange on her tongue but came naturally. I've lived on Earth as a human named Maddie Walsh. My memories returned when Princess Lyra recognized my guard mark. The Emperor was silent for a long moment, then he said, Show me the mark. Maddie held up her wrist. The 3 connected circles glowed blue, matching the mark on the Emperor's forehead. Only royal guards bear that mark, he said quietly. And it cannot be copied. He looked at Lyra. You said this changes my plans for Earth. How? Father, Lyra said firmly. Samantha's existence proves what our oldest records claim. Humans and Austrians share ancestors. Earth is our origin world. Those are just legends, the Emperor dismissed. No, Father. I found proof in the ancient records, and Samantha's body contains both human and Austrian characteristics. The science is clear. Lyra's voice grew stronger. You know our sacred law. We cannot wage war against an ancestor world. The Emperor's face hardened again. Convenient timing for such a discovery when my fleet approaches Earth. President Bell stepped into view. Emperor Vex, I am President Sharon Bell of Earth's United Nations. We have just learned about our people's connection. We're as surprised as you are. Humans would say anything to avoid war, the Emperor said dismissively. Father, please, Lyra begged. At least look at the evidence before attacking. Our law requires it. The Emperor considered this. I will send my science advisor to examine your proof. The fleet will hold position until I receive his report. It wasn't a promise of peace, but it was a start. After the communication ended, President Bell turned to Maddie and Lyra. Well done, we've bought some time. She looked at Maddie with new eyes. Lieutenant, I still don't know what to make of your story, but your actions today have served Earth well. Thank you, Madam President, Maddie said. But we're not safe yet. We need to prepare the evidence for the Emperor's advisor. Over the next day, scientists from Earth and Astria worked together, examining Maddie's unique biology and the ancient records Lyra had found. Maddie submitted to many tests, feeling like a science experiment. But it was worth it if it stopped the war. On the evening of the second day, as they waited for the Emperor's advisor to arrive, Maddie slipped away to visit her adoptive parents. She found them at their small house, worried sick about her disappearance during the attack. Mom, Dad, she said when they opened the door. Tears filled her eyes. Maddie, her mother cried, hugging her tight. We were so worried. The military wouldn't tell us anything. Inside, Maddie told them everything. Her true identity, her recovered memories, her mission to stop the war. So you're not really our daughter? Mrs. Walsh asked, her voice breaking. I am your daughter, Maddie said, firmly. You raised me. You loved me. That's what makes a family, not blood or where I was born. Mr. Walsh took her hand, looking at her glowing wrist mark. We always knew you were special, Maddie. We just didn't know how special. You don't hate me for being different? Maddie asked in a small voice. Hate you? Mrs. Walsh hugged her, again. We could never hate you. You're our daughter, no matter what planet you're from. Maddie returned to the base feeling stronger. Whatever happened next, she had her Earth family's love. The Emperor's science advisor arrived early the next morning, the third day when the fleet would reach Earth. He was an old Austrian with white hair and kind eyes. He examined all the evidence carefully, taking notes and asking many questions. By midday, he was ready to give his report. The communication link with Emperor Vex opened again. Well, the Emperor demanded, What have you found? The evidence is clear, Your Majesty, the advisor said. Princess Lyra is correct. Earth is indeed our ancestor world. The genetic patterns cannot be denied. And this young woman, he nodded to Maddie, is living proof of our connection. She is both human and Astrian. The Emperor's face showed conflict. You are certain? Absolutely, Your Majesty. By our sacred law, we cannot attack Earth. Emperor Vex was silent for a long time. Everyone waited nervously. Finally, he spoke. The fleet will withdraw to the outer solar system. His voice was stiff but clear. We will respect the sacred law. Relief filled the room. But the Emperor wasn't finished. However, he continued, Astria still needs resources. Our world cannot sustain our population much longer. President Bell stepped forward. Perhaps we can help each other, Emperor Vex. Earth has resources. Astria has advanced technology. We could arrange a trade agreement. A trade agreement? The Emperor seemed surprised by the offer. Yes, President Bell said. We are cousins after all. Family should help family. For the first time, the Emperor's cold face softened slightly. An interesting proposal. We would need to discuss terms. Of course, President Bell agreed. We can begin immediately. As the leaders started discussing possible trade arrangements, Maddie and Lyra slipped out of the room. We did it, Lyra said, smiling widely. We stopped the war. For now, Maddie cautioned. There's still a lot of work to do. Our worlds need to learn to trust each other. That's where you come in, Lyra said. You understand both worlds. You can help build bridges between us. Maddie touched her wrist mark, which now glowed softly all the time. What will I do now? I'm not fully human, but I'm not fully Astraean anymore either. You're both, Lyra said. And that makes you exactly what both worlds need right now. 3 months later, Maddie stood on a hill overlooking a new building site. Below, humans and Astrians worked side by side, constructing the first joint Earth-Astria Science Center. Nearby, Lyra's diplomatic ship gleamed in the sunlight. Maddie now wore a special uniform, half Earth military, half Astrian Royal Guard. Her title was Ambassador, the first of her kind. The past months had been busy. Trade negotiations between Earth and Astria were going well. Earth would provide water, metals, and organic materials. Astria would share clean energy technology, advanced medicine, and faster-than-light travel knowledge. Some people on both sides still didn't trust the other. But every day more came to accept the new relationship. Lyra walked up the hill to join Maddie. The Earth delegation is ready to leave for Astria, she said. Are you nervous about returning to your first home? Maddie looked up at the blue sky. Somewhere up there was a world with purple skies and crystal cities. A world she was born on but barely remembered, even with her recovered memories. A little nervous, she admitted. But excited too. I want to see it all again with new eyes. She smiled at her friend. Besides, I'll have you as my guide. Like you guided me on Earth, Lyra said, returning the smile. I'm still trying to figure out who I really am, Maddie said, watching the humans and Astrians working together below. Am I more Maddie or more Samantha? You're both and neither, Lyra said wisely. You're something new, a bridge between worlds. Just like that building down there. Maddie nodded, understanding what Lyra meant. She had spent weeks worrying about her identity, trying to decide which name to use, which world to call home. Now she realized she didn't have to choose. It's time to go, Lyra said. The ship leaves in an hour. As they walked down the hill, Maddie thought about her journey. She had grown up as a human girl named Maddie Walsh, never knowing she was born, an Astrian named Samantha. She had served Earth loyally as a soldier. Now she would serve both worlds as an ambassador. Her parents, both the Walshes on Earth and her birth parents who died in the crash, would be proud of her. At the ship, Maddie's adoptive parents waited to say goodbye. They had accepted her dual nature with love and pride. We'll miss you, Mrs. Walsh said, hugging her tight. I'll be back in 3 months, Maddie promised. And I'll send messages every day. We know you will, Mr. Walsh said. Just remember, no matter how far you go or what you discover about yourself, you always have a home here. I know, Dad, Maddie said, tears in her eyes. I have 2 homes. Now. And that makes me twice as lucky as most people. As the ship rose into the sky, Maddie watched Earth grow smaller below. Her wrist mark glowed brightly, in harmony with the ship's blue lights. For the first time since discovering her true identity, she felt completely at peace.